The silence of the SDRGGG leaner body talks about the beginning. Not the beginning when things are exciting, not the spark, not the dream written in a notebook or spoken into a mirror. I'm talking about the real beginning, the one where it's just you, the grind, and the sound of silence echoing around your ambition. The kind of silence that makes you wonder if anybody even sees you. The kind of silence that makes you ask yourself if you're really built for this. You see, everybody wants to win. Everybody wants success. But what most people don't understand is that success starts in obscurity. It begins in that invisible, quiet place where no one's clapping for you. No one's calling your name, and no one's checking to see if you're okay. You're working late, dreaming big, and trying to silence the doubts that get louder with every unnoticed step you take. That's the silence of the struggle. And that silence, it's not empty. It's full of pressure. It's full of resistance. It's full of those nights when you're staring at the ceiling, wondering if your breakthrough is ever going to come. It's the part of your story that nobody sees, nobody celebrates, and nobody shares. Because truthfully, nobody cares. Until you win. Steve Harvey once said, "Your setback is just a setup for your comeback." But that's easy to say in hindsight. When you're in it, when you're broken, and overlooked, it doesn't feel like a setup. It feels like defeat. And most people quit there. Most people fold in the silence because they mistake it for failure. They mistake being ignored for being unworthy. But let me tell you something. The silence isn't your enemy. It's your training ground. When no one's watching, that's when you learn who you really are. That's when you discover whether you're doing it for the applause or for the purpose. That's when your mindset gets tested and sharpened. Because when you're out there grinding with no recognition, no guarantees, and no external motivation, you either crumble, or you build character. You build grit. You build belief. Not the kind of belief that comes from hearing someone else say, "You've got this," but the kind that comes from pushing through when even you aren't sure you do. The silence is uncomfortable. It's painful, but it's necessary. That's where the greats are forged. You think champions are born in the spotlight. No, they're born in the dark, in the repetition, in the early mornings and late nights. In the gym when nobody's watching. At the desk when nobody's paying attention. On stage in front of empty seats. That's the real beginning. And here's the thing. No one is going to clap for you while you're becoming. They won't support you when you're inconsistent. They won't notice your effort when there's nothing to show yet. They'll scroll past your ideas. They'll talk behind your back. Some might even laugh. But let them laugh. Let them doubt. Because while they're watching for someone already made, you're in the lab, building something no one can take from you. And one day when the results come, when the success becomes visible, they'll pretend they always believed in you. They'll repost you, quote you, celebrate you. But you'll remember the silence. You'll remember the struggle. And most importantly, you'll remember that you kept going when nobody cared. That's what winners do. They don't wait for validation. They don't beg for attention. They keep their head down, stay focused, and move in silence until their results make the noise. Because here's the hard truth. Nobody cares about your potential. They care about your results. Nobody celebrates your hard work. They celebrate your wins. Nobody supports your grind. They support your glory. It sounds harsh, but it's real. And if you can accept that, if you can make peace with being invisible, for a season you'll step into a level of growth most people never reach. You'll become the kind of person who doesn't just chase success, but commands it. But first, you've got to survive the silence. You've got to endure the phase where it feels like nothing is working, like no one believes in you, like you're doing everything right and still falling short. That's the test. That's where champions are separated from wishful thinkers. That's where the voice in your head matters more than the voices around you. And that voice, your own internal dialogue, has to get stronger. You have to speak life into yourself. You have to become your own coach, your own motivator, your own biggest fan. Because if you don't believe in yourself when no one else does, you'll never make it to the point where they do. Think about every successful person you admire. Every one of them was doubted at some point. Every one of them started from a place where they were unknown, unrecognized, and underappreciated. Steve Harvey slept in his car. Oprah told she wasn't fit for TV. Michael Jordan cut from his high school team. The list goes on. They were nobodies until they weren't. And that shift didn't come from waiting on the world to notice. It came from relentless, disciplined, unglamorous action repeated over and over in silence. That's how you win. That's how you flip the script. That's how you turn nobody into somebody. So if you're in the struggle right now, if you're grinding in silence, if you feel like no one sees you, good, because that means you're in the right place. That means you're building something real. That means you're exactly where every champion once stood. Don't run from the silence. Embrace it. Let it sharpen you. Let it prepare you. Let it break the weaker version of you so the winner can emerge. Because one day it's coming, your results will speak so loud they won't be able to ignore you. But today is about the work. Today is about showing up without applause. Today is about outlasting the doubt. This is your beginning, and it's beautiful, even in the silence. The seed stage, when effort feels invisible. Nobody sees the seed. Everyone loves the fruit. They celebrate the tree when it's standing tall, branches heavy with success, roots deep with confidence, but they ignore the seed. They ignore the time it's spent buried. In the dark, in the cold, in the unknown. The seed stage is where it all begins, but nobody claps for it. Not your friends, not your family, not even you, sometimes. Because it's hard to celebrate something that hasn't broken the surface yet. It's hard to believe in something you can't see. And that's what makes this chapter, the seed stage, the most dangerous part of your journey. Not because the work is harder, but because it feels like it's going nowhere. You're doing everything right. You're showing up. You're working hard. You're trying your best. And yet, there's no sign that it's working. No applause. No traction. No progress that others can measure. It's just you, putting in effort that feels invisible. And if you're not careful, you'll quit, not because you can't do it, but because it doesn't look like it's happening. That's where most people stop. Not at the top. Not after giving their all. But right there, buried in the soil, when the roots are just starting to form. Let's get real about this stage. Do you know what it feels like to go unnoticed? To be the hardest worker in the room and still feel like you're being overlooked? Steve Harvey does. Before the world knew his name, he was out there on comedy stages, sleeping in his car, scraping together change just to put food in his mouth and fuel in the tank. He believed in something no one else could see. That's the seed stage. It's lonely, it's quiet, and it's filled with moments where quitting feels like the smarter option. Because let's be honest, working this hard without results, it messes with your mind. You start wondering, am I wasting my time? What if I'm not good enough? What if this just isn't meant for me? Those aren't just thoughts. Those are tests. Every winner you admire today passed those tests. They fought through the mental fog of the seed stage. They didn't let the silence of the soil suffocate their dream. They understood this truth. Just because no one sees it yet doesn't mean growth isn't happening. Real growth happens underground. The seed doesn't show signs of life above ground right away. It builds down before it grows up. It develops roots. It establishes foundation. It gets anchored before it ever breaks through. And that's what you're doing, every day. You choose discipline over distraction. Every morning you get up and do the work. Every time you resist the urge to quit. You're building roots. You're preparing to break through. But that breakthrough doesn't come with a warning. It doesn't come with a banner or a trumpet. It sneaks up on everyone else, but you've been living it. You've been becoming. The most dangerous lies are the quiet ones during this stage. The most dangerous voice isn't someone doubting you. It's your own. The voice that says, nobody's watching, this doesn't matter, I should have seen results by now. But let me ask you this, since when did visibility determine value? When a seed is underground, it's no less important. It's no less alive. It's no less powerful. It's simply unseen for now. That's your journey. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not wasting your time. You are in the soil. And something great is forming. Steve Harvey on Invisible Effort. You ever hear Steve talk about those days before the spotlight? He didn't just start telling jokes and blow up. He bombed on stage. He was broke. He was laughed at, not for being funny, but for even trying. He said, God doesn't show you what he has for you, because if he did, you'd mess it up. That hits. Because sometimes what's forming in the dark is too big for us to handle. Just yet, we have to grow into the version of ourselves that's capable of holding the blessing. That's why this stage feels so slow, because it's not just about building the dream. It's about building the you that can carry it. The power of patience in the seed stage. The seed doesn't rush the process. If it tries to grow too fast, it breaks. If it skips the root stage, the first storm takes it out. Same with you. If you try to skip the invisible effort, the boring reps, the lonely nights, the unglamorous hustle, you'll end up with a fragile version of success. But if you stick it out, if you keep showing up, if you stay patient in the pain, you'll grow stronger than most ever will, because you didn't just chase success, you became it. Invisible does not equal unimportant. There are people right now who don't see you. Don't let that shake you. There are people right now who don't believe in you. Don't let that stop you. There are people right now who have written you off. That's okay, Dad, because when the roots are strong enough, when the timing is right, when the work has been done in silence, you'll rise and it'll look overnight. To them, but not to you. You'll remember every day you showed up and got nothing in return except a little more resilience, a little more hunger, a little more belief. That's what the seed stage gives you. Quiet strength, inner confidence, unshakable purpose. It teaches you to keep moving without applause, to keep believing without evidence, to keep trusting the process when the world gives you nothing but doubt. One day they'll say you changed, but you didn't just change. You evolved. You grew through what they never saw. You endured what they couldn't handle. You stayed rooted when they would have run. And when the fruit comes, when the life you prayed for starts to bloom, they'll forget the soil. They'll forget the darkness. They'll forget the early days. But you won't. You'll remember the invisible work. You'll remember the lonely grind. You'll remember planting in tears so you could harvest in joy. That's what makes your story powerful. Not the success, but the silence you fought through to earn it. Final words of this chapter. If you're in this season right now, overlooked, unrecognized, I want you to hear this. You're not behind. You're being prepared. Stay rooted. Stay focused. Stay patient. Don't dig up the seed, because you don't see fruit yet. Keep watering. Keep trusting. Keep going, because the day is coming faster than you think when everything you've been planting in private will explode in public. And then they'll care, but by then, you won't need them to. Steve Harvey's journey from nobody to national ICO. And before Steve Harvey was a household name, before the suits and stage lights, before the standing ovations and the millions in the bank, he was a man with a dream and nowhere to sleep. That's not an exaggeration. That's not a metaphor. Steve Harvey was literally homeless. He was living in his car, washing up in gas station bathrooms, eating what he could afford. And yet, in that season of rock bottom, he didn't let the outside world define his inner worth. You see, people see Steve Harvey now, the success, the laughter, the influence, but they don't see what it took to get here. They don't see the nights he cried himself to sleep in the back of a 1976 Ford Tempo. They don't hear the deafening silence of rejection after rejection. They don't feel the weight of performing comedy shows and getting paid just enough to buy a cheap meal and a tank of gas, praying the car would even start the next day. That was his seed stage. That was his silence of the struggle. Steve Harvey had a dream stand-up comedy. He believed that God placed something inside him that the world needed. But belief doesn't pay rent. Belief doesn't feed you. And when the bookings dried up and the opportunities faded, he was left with a decision that separates the dreamers from the doers. Do I quit because it's hard, or do I push forward because I believe it's mine? Steve chose the latter. And here's what's crazy. There was a moment where everything could have ended. He had $35 to his name. $35. No home, no job, no family nearby. But one night he got a call, an opportunity to perform on Showtime at the Apollo. One shot, one audience, one stage that could change it all. He didn't have the money to get there, but he did something most wouldn't. He found a way. He drove across states, fueled by faith, hunger, and a belief that this was the moment he had been preparing for in the dark. He stepped on that stage and crushed it. Performance changed his life, and the rest, as they say, is history. But let's not skip over that story too fast, because buried in that tale is a truth that too many overlook. Before the breakthrough, there's always a breakdown. Before the applause, there's always isolation. Before the win, there's always a season where nobody cares. Steve Harvey was a nobody in the eyes of the world, just another man with a dream. But in the soil of his silence, something was growing, something strong, something deep, something unshakable. And that's what most people miss. They see the highlight reel. They see the talk shows, the best-selling books, the motivational speeches, but they don't see the man who refused to give up when he had every reason to. They don't see the fight it took just to survive. Steve didn't have a plan B. Comedy wasn't a hobby. It was his lifeline, he said. If you have a backup plan, then you plan to fail. Let that sink in. Many of us treat our dreams like options instead of callings. How many of us would keep grinding if the world told us number 100 times? Steve did. And because he kept going, because he didn't quit in the car, because he didn't throw in the towel when he had nothing, he rose. But here's what makes Steve different. He never forgot the car. He never forgot the pain. The process. The nights when nobody believed. And that's why his words hit different. That's why his voice carries weight. He's not speaking from a stage of comfort. He's speaking from a life that's been forged in fire. And now, he's built an empire. He's changed lives. He's mentored millions through laughter and truth. But it all started with a choice, to believe, even when nobody else did. That's your takeaway from Steve Harvey's journey. Success is possible. Glory is real. Dreams do come true, but only if you're willing to fight for them in the dark. Only if you're willing to be misunderstood, underestimated, overlooked and still show up. So, if you're in your own car season right now, you feel like the world doesn't see you, like you're barely hanging on, remember Steve, because one day, you could be the one standing on the stage, telling your story, and someone else, somewhere, will hear it and realize they're not alone. That's how impact is made. Through struggle, through silence, through rising when everyone expected you to stay down. Steve Harvey didn't just become a national icon, he earned it, and so can you. The shift when results speak louder than WODESTA, a moment in every journey if you stay in the fight long enough, when everything begins to shift. It doesn't come with a parade. There's no loud announcement. It doesn't knock politely on your door. It arrives quietly, like a sunrise. Like something that was always meant to be. You've been grinding in the dark. You've been sacrificing, bleeding, doubting, and still showing up. And then one day finally breaks, something clicks, a door opens, a result shows up, and in that moment, everything changes. Because for the first time, people start to pay attention. Your name is mentioned in rooms you've never stepped in. Your work is shared, reposted, recognized. Your message spreads. Your progress becomes visible. And you realize something. The silence wasn't rejection. It was preparation. This chapter, the shift is when your results start to speak louder than your voice ever could. And suddenly, the people who ignored you, doubted you, laughed at you, they start asking how you did it. They start listening. They start caring. But let's be clear, this isn't about proving them wrong. It's about proving you right. You didn't endure for validation. You endured for transformation. You didn't suffer just to be seen. You suffered so that one day, you could shine. Let's dive deep into what this shift really looks like, and why it's everything you've been working for. This is the pivot point, the moment you move from being unseen to being undeniable. But make no mistake, this isn't the time to slow down. It's not the time to relax or get comfortable. In fact, it's the most critical phase, because now, expectations are rising. Now, people are watching. And while the silence before was about surviving, this stage is about scaling. The shift is subtle at first. Maybe one video goes viral. Maybe one client turns into 3. Maybe a random podcast invite opens up new doors. But behind the scenes, what's really changed isn't the external, it's you. You've become someone different. You've developed consistency in place of chaos. You've replaced doubt with discipline. You've stopped chasing attention, started commanding it. Your energy hits different. Your words hit different. Your results hit different. Because now you're not just talking, you're backing it up. That's the power of the shift. People don't need to be convinced anymore. They feel it. They see it. They know it. And those same people who once ignored you, they start gravitating toward you. They start mimicking you, quoting you, reaching out for advice. But here's the ironic truth. They're not applauding you, they're applauding your evidence. People don't trust potential, they trust results. They don't invest in the idea of youth, they invest in the proof. And now you're living proof. This is where you go from being a person with a dream to a person with impact. Think of Steve Harvey again. When he finally got the stage time, when the world started seeing his genius, he didn't let up. He leveled up. He started building a brand, a career, a legacy. That's what you have to do in your shift. Because this moment when the light finally hits you is rare. And if you treat it like a finish line, you'll lose it. But if you treat it like a launch pad, you'll multiply it. You'll start stacking wins. You'll start attracting the right people. You'll start stepping into rooms you once only dreamed of. But most importantly, you'll start believing at a deeper level. Not just believing you can do it, but believing that you are doing it. But it's already happening. That you've earned this. Because let's be honest, one of the hardest parts of success isn't getting it, it's accepting it. Imposter syndrome creeps in. Old doubts resurface. You start wondering, do I really deserve this? But you do. You didn't skip steps. You didn't cheat the grind. You earned this shift the hard way through silence, sacrifice, and sustained effort. So own it. Own your new level. Own your new energy. Own the new doors opening for you. And understand this. The shift isn't the end. It's the beginning of the next level, and with every level comes a new devil, a new pressure, a new challenge. But now you're different. Now you're ready. Now, you're the person who once only existed in your imagination. Your results are your resume now. Your story is your strategy. Your presence is your power. You're not just on the path anymore. You are the path. So let them watch. Let them wonder, let them whisper. Because now, you don't need to explain yourself. Your results do the talking. Let the world watch turning wins into leghsss is the moment you've waited for, not just the applause, not just the recognition, but the undeniable truth that you've arrived. And now that the world is finally paying attention, the question shifts from how you got here to what you'll do with it. See, success isn't the end of the road, it's a fork in the path. Some people use their wins to coast, others use them to climb, and then there's a rare few, the true game, who turn their success into something greater than themselves. They turn it into legacy. Legacy isn't just about what you leave behind when you're gone, it's about what you build while you're still here. It's how you use your voice when it's finally heard. It's what you do with your influence when the spotlight's on you. It's about reaching back with one hand to lift someone else while you keep climbing with the other. Steve Harvey didn't stop when he made it. He started, he built platforms, he created opportunities for others, he turned laughter into purpose, he turned fame into fuel for change. Because that's what legacy makers do. They don't just want to be remembered, they want to be felt, long after the lights go out. So now, you've got to ask yourself, what will they say about you when you're not in the room? What impact will your work have 5 years from now? Will your journey inspire someone else to start theirs? Will your voice continue echoing after the noise fades? You've been through the fire, you've endured the silence, you've embraced the shift. Now it's time to build something eternal. Let the world watch. Let them see what consistency, sacrifice, and belief can build. Let them witness a life lived with purpose. Because when nobody cared, you cared enough to keep going. And now that they care, you make sure it means something. This is your legacy in motion.